you ever wondered why, after a traumatic experience, your memory can feel like it's working against you? Why it seems so hard to recall details, but the emotions and sensations linger on, overwhelm and change how everything feels? If we take a moment and shift our focus from what memory does to why it exists. When trauma strikes, our higher brain, the part responsible for analysing facts and forming clear memories, essentially shuts down. Instead of remembering the event as a logical sequence, we're left with powerful feelings and bodily sensations, often out of order and making no sense. Traumatic memories do not function as accurate recordings, but instead focus on emotional and sensory experiences. We tend to remember the intensity of feelings like fear or confusion, and the sights, sounds, smells associated with those moments, rather than exact details. This creates two big hurdles for survivors. 1. The validation loop. Survivors often find themselves desperately trying to prove what happened, seeking and needing validation from therapists, courts, or even loved ones. But because traumatic memories are fuzzy and lack factual precision, the telling can create frustration and anger. Retelling their experiences over and over. It's exhausting, and it keeps them trapped in survival mode, unable to move forward and truly heal. 2. The prediction loop. Our brains are natural prediction engines, always scanning and referring to memory, trying to predict and prepare. After trauma, this system can become hijacked and only see threat, creating hypervigilance. Suddenly, everyday cues, a smell, a sound, even a movement, can trigger a full-blown reliving and a shutdown, because they mirror the feelings and sensations we remember. This reinforces the sense that the world is always dangerous, making recovery even harder. Healing begins when we recognize our memories are about felt experience, not hard facts. Separating the need for validation from healing opens the door to accepting genuine support and connection, allowing us to step out of survival mode and embrace recovery. We need to separate the proving of what happened from the healing of what happened. This way we can find a more neutral ground. To introduce to our nervous system the experiences and connections we need to feel safe, supported and seen.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening all, it's Bear here. And in today's video, I want to talk about something we all have, we all use. And throughout my years as a therapist and my many years around advocacy was one of the greatest obstacles for people to understand and value and work with, to be able to step out of or move out of survival into a more productive base to build their lives upon. What I want to talk about is memory. Now, there are many, many ways to view the process of memory within human beings. I want to focus more on the purpose of memory rather than the function of memory. When you step into the function of memory, the understandings that we need to really heal get lost in the sheer amount of areas and labels and descriptions and processes involved with how we store our experiences and where we store them and how we recall them. So I want to focus more on the purpose of memory and in three main areas, how it heavily influences our threat response to trauma. It's really the third leg of our trauma response, the other two being epigenetics and interoception, that drives the functionality within us of what our trauma response creates. And how so many of people's trauma responses, our trauma responses, are therapy resistant because of these three areas, epigenetics, interoception, and memory, and the interplay that they have together, how they feed off each other. Now, in the first part, one of the difficulties we have when we work with memory, when we go through trauma, we want to have a validation for what happened to us with those we are going to or seeking support from, and we want to feel that validation. The difficulty is this is where our memory betrays us for one simple reason. When we go through trauma, our cognitive brain, the higher brain functions shut down. The analytical part of our brain is shut down. So we're not focusing on retaining the facts and details. We are focusing on retaining what we are feeling and our ability to fight off, escape, or shut down to survive. And that is what we recall. We are trying to describe feelings. We're trying to describe perceptions of what was happening based on what we felt, not on our brain analyzing the steps and all the data required in the way we're taught to logically teach or make another person aware of factually what happened. This creates a very challenging state of mind, a state of being in regards to traumatic experiences. Because when we're seeking help, one, we're asked to explain in a form what happened. And we can very easily get caught in the need to validate rather than express or explain with what we have, our feelings and our emotions. From a practitioner's perspective, there's a lot of things you need to understand to be able to interpret between the lines of what a person is telling you or describing how things unfolded. And you need to focus more on understanding the feelings and responses they had rather than trying to get a validating list of facts to maybe take to court. This is one of the more challenging areas of perpetrator-based trauma because a court procedure or getting some form of accountability or justice against the perpetrators is a key part of the process of healing. But for this video, I just want to focus on that validation loop and how it traps us in we cannot move out of this trauma response state because we still haven't successfully convinced others or proven what we went through happened. And the amount of times this loop plays over embeds and alters the narrative of what happened. Effectively, we are just reliving the same traumatic events over and over again to where they play out in such confusion that they make it very difficult to decipher, to be able to make concrete steps, to create a timeline to help the body process what the nervous system went through and our shutdown states and everything we experience through those traumatic experiences. How we work with this is, as I said, we need to understand, if we completely understand that we're expressing what we felt, not facts, not analyzed facts and detail, and focus more on deciphering what caused what we felt, the validation loop becomes eased and can be let go of. And it does open the path up to getting the support and help we need. The validation loop also traps us. A large part of our memory's purpose is a prediction engine of what we have now and what we're going to need. And that validation loop hijacks our prediction engine, our brain, into continuously recreating the ecology we were traumatized in. This is something that is extremely common in the reality of, traumatic experiences and how they play out in people's lives, because so much of the types of trauma that people experience are perpetrator based. If we've gone through a huge storm, there's other validating evidence. There's a storm. If we've gone through natural disasters, car accidents and all, we don't need to prove they happened. But when we go through something that was done to us by someone or other people, we need to. This world demands it. And this is a very embedded and powerful loop where our memory betrays us and, as I said, traps us in ever-repeating cycles of reliving that trauma and shutting everything around us down. Another key area around how memory can betray us and how memory can trap us in, trauma-resistant therapy loops is our brain primarily is a prediction model, a prediction tool, a mechanism. Our brain tries to predict what we need and what's going to happen in any given situation. When we go through complex trauma, that prediction mechanism gets hijacked by threat and hypervigilance towards scanning for threat, keeping us in a heightened state for protracted periods of time, trying to find out if what happened to us is going to happen again. This prediction loop is another extremely common way that our memory does betray us. Because as I said earlier, our memory records and retains what we felt, not analyzed facts. So anything that reflects the feelings we had when we were going through a traumatic experience brings us back to reliving that traumatic experience. And this loop, again, makes it very difficult because we are trying to explain emotions and felt sense, not analyzed data. To get another person to understand, particularly in a therapy process or a support process, is very challenging because we're again trying to relay what we felt. And we focus on the only way we can do that is to regurgitate data. And as I said, this is where our memory betrays us, because if we go through trauma, the part of our brain that is able to record and analyze data is shut down, our higher brain, because we are shut down into a sequence of fight, flight, or freeze. Again, understanding this helps us in the explanation so we can avoid a validation loop, when we can avoid reinforcing a prediction loop by the person we are talking to or connecting to. If they understand that we are expressing or explaining how we felt and not focusing on trying to get details, but more on processing through and understanding the emotions and allowing those emotions to be worked through, helps us move past that prediction loop model that we create and are so easily able to reinforce, feeding again off our need for validation. Another key area around this prediction loop, because if we start to explore, and in the next video, this is a 2-part video, because of this sheer amount of information, I could do 10-part videos on memory. But in the next part, I purely want to focus on the interplay between epigenetics, what we inherit in interoception, what we are, the way we feel, the nervous system's language, and memory. But when we're looking at the prediction model and that prediction loop being hijacked by trauma, the way we felt, because they are so broad, it is so easy to find examples to reflect those feelings, especially in a modern society. Unexpected noise, unexpected movement, unexpected sound, unexpected smells, smells that are linked to places where bad things have happened, sounds that are linked to places where bad things have happened, the aggression that we come across, especially in the city life. All these examples can very easily put us straight back into the trauma experiences we've had. And the reason this is so critical to understand is it makes us think that the world will only ever be a threatening environment. In the practitioner years, working with someone, trying to explain to them that they've taught themselves to only see harm is almost impossible, because the logical explanatory answers that we need to prove to someone, the words that a practitioner can use in a therapy session, mean nothing until we experience good things, until we experience safe. That part of us that is trapped in the prediction, the trauma hijack prediction process mechanism, won't believe it. So we ourselves, we need to firstly become aware and go, yeah, I know I do this to myself. Because it's up to us to start to negotiate with that prediction model and start to create ways, or be open to ways, to have the experiences that we're going to start to need to create the gray areas, so that our prediction expectation that the world is a bad place has other examples that it's not quite as bad a place. There are places that are not so bad within it, and continue to grow and work with them to a place where we can start to create the connections to co-regulate with our core group, to be able to re-regulate our nervous system, to create and support our processes of healing and moving out of survival. The next part in this video, part 2, I want to go into the interplay a little more between interoception, epigenetics, and memory, and how it creates an ideal eternal ecology that is at the core of trauma experiences that are resistant to therapeutic support and to help. So I'll release that video in a week. Please stay, please come back and watch it, as it's a continuation of this video. But as always, I really hope you guys understand where I'm coming from with all of this. And as always, I love you guys' comments and feedback and support for the channel. Please be mindful, please be safe, and I will see you all next time. Hope.